Hello, my name is Cathleen de Ontiveros, and today we're going to make a pencil skirt pattern. We're going to need to take some measurements of the waist, the hip line, the outer curve from your waist to your hip line, and then the length from the hip to the knee, or if you want your skirt to be longer, all the way down to your ankles or the floor. So write all of those measurements down. Now the waist measurement we're going to want to divide by 4. The hip measurement will divide by 4 as well. I have a piece of tissue paper that I'm going to use to make my pattern on. For this pattern, I'm going to say that the waist measurement was at 24, and divided by 4, that comes out to 6. I'm going to place my ruler on the fold of the tissue paper at the 6, and I'm going to make some marks here and draw a line. The next measurement I'm going to use will be from the waist to the hip on the outer curve. The number that I came up with was 9 inches. So I'm coming down to the 9 and I'm making some little marks. And then I will be using the measurement for the hip line. The hip line that I have was at 32 inches. We're dividing that by 4, and we're coming up with 8. I'm putting that 8 right here on the fold of the tissue paper, and I'm drawing a straight line right where we made those little marks before from the hip line. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is make a curve and connect from the waist to the hip. I have one of these hip curve rulers. I'll put a link in the comment section that will show where to print out a copy, and you can tape it together if you don't have one of these. I'm just going to line up from here to here, follow the curve, and trace the line. And that will give my outer curve for the hip. There are 2 ways that you can do the length part. You can just draw a straight line all the way down, or you can make it curved in towards your knees, depending on what look you're trying to get. For this pattern, I'm just going to go ahead and draw a straight line. Now skirts, you really want to have a curve at the waist. You don't want to leave them straight across like that. It's not a natural look. I'm going to use the hip ruler again, and I'm just going to draw this little curve in. The final thing that I need to do to this pattern is add in some seam allowance. I'm going to use my seam ruler at 5/8 of an inch, and I'm just going to make some little slashes all the way around, and that will give me my seam allowance. 5/8 of an inch is commercial standard, so that just is what I use to keep all of my sewing, whether it's a homemade pattern or a commercial pattern. I always know to use the same seam allowance on my machine. Now the waist, because we're going to want to either fold it under and stitch it or to add on a casing, I'm also going to need to add on a seam allowance there, but that could vary anywhere from just turning it under at 5/8 of an inch to adding a wide elastic casing, could be an extra 2 inches. So that part is up to you as to how you're going to finish the top. We will mark our little arrows saying to cut on the fold. We'll cut 2, and the size, this was a size 24 waist. And that's your pencil skirt pattern. If you have any questions, leave me a message. Please look for the link to join our Facebook group. Thank you, and happy sewing.